Good Sunday morning. There are two ways to look at the COVID-19 crisis today. Once again, there is real reason for optimism. Americans have begun receiving the Pfizer vaccine, and this weekend Moderna's vaccine was authorized for emergency use, adding millions more doses to be rolled out starting this morning, especially in more rural parts with normal freezers. All this offers the kind of hope we've been longing for throughout this crisis. At the same time, though, the pandemic continues to tear through the country. The 4 highest COVID case counts since the coronavirus hit were recorded just last week, as were 4 of the 8 highest daily death totals, including the top 2. As we've noted, we're now experiencing a 9/11 every day, and it's worse than a 9/11 on some days. After September 11th, the government created a commission to study what went wrong. How did we miss the clues? Our question this morning, is it time to establish a 9/11-like commission to study how significant parts of our government missed this, chose to dismiss the obvious danger, making it impossible for health officials to do their jobs? Some things undeniably have gone right, like those vaccines created by our scientists in record-breaking time. But there are many other areas to probe, like why was the nationwide COVID testing system so deeply flawed? Or the consequences of a president who spent his energy denying the pandemic, mocking safety measures like mask wearing and social distancing, or allegations that the Trump administration increasingly exerted influence over the CDC's messaging and data to play down the severity of the virus. Our resulting loss of trust in government will only make it harder to fight this pandemic at the very moment people need to be persuaded to take the vaccine and bring this horror to an end. Quickly on COVID, I'm going to be speaking with a couple of former CDC officials that are going to speak out on what happened with messaging and the White House interference at the CDC. And it raises a question. We have over 300,000 folks that have died from this. We clearly had a harder time with this pandemic than most of the Western world. Do we need a Iraq study group, 9/11 commission, pick your comparative in history to figure out what went wrong and how we prevent this from happening again, but a commission, something like, with 2 leading figures, a Chris Christie, Jay Johnson, Jeb Bush, people like that?
Well, I'm not sure whether it's a commission or not, but we certainly need to study what we could have done better and prepare for the next pandemic, because there will be another one, hopefully not very, very soon. And so we have to do the things that are necessary to prevent the kind of mistakes that we made this time. There's no question we made all sorts of mistakes.
Yamiche, what kind of appetite do you think the Biden administration is going to have? I talked about a COVID commission. I think that's likely to happen, something like that. But I noticed the New York Times today called for something, they didn't call it this, but it almost felt like a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Is that something that our current politics could allow to happen?
I think because of this thing that former President Obama called truth decay, it's very hard to have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission when Americans can't agree on the truth. Hallie Jackson's talking about, Kellyanne Conway talking to you about alternative facts. I remember being on Meet the Press when Rudy Giuliani told you truth isn't truth. It is the thing that defined the Trump administration and this era, that they wanted to completely create a new version of the truth, and so many Americans, more than 75 million of them, went along with that for President Trump. I'm not sure if we can get to a place where Americans can sit down and say, let's talk about what our difference is, when we can't even agree on the facts.